All right, welcome to our final special edition webinar for the AECT Leadership Development Internship Program. We have several past interns with us today to share some information about their experiences with the Leadership Development Internship Program. And my name is Megan Murtaugh. I am the current intern leadership coordinator, and I will go ahead in a little bit and give you some information about the program itself, overall qualifications and eligibility information. And before we get started, though, I'd love for all of our AECT intern guests to go ahead and quickly introduce yourselves, name, where you're at, and any other information you want to provide, maybe the year that you were an intern.
Hello, everyone. Jon Anderle. I'm at the University of Wyoming, and I'm one of the 2017 interns.
I think it's my turn, right? Because is it my turn or I jumped it?
Go ahead, Firat.
Okay, sorry that. Oh, sorry. Just go, Justine. It's your turn. As I said, it's a late time here. I can't do everything. I have many excuses about that. Go, Justine. I will do my turn.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so I'm Justine Chien, and right now I'm an instructional designer at University of Wisconsin Extension, and then I'm the intern for 2014, but I'm the ISEM, International Council of Educational Media intern. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. That one depends on the funding, so it's not offered every year.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess Resig. I'm the director of the Center for E-Learning Initiatives at Penn State Behrend, and I was an intern in 2017 as well.
Hello all, this is Firat. I am intern 2013, and I also, have you guys still keeping this, right? Is all of this with you, or just I am holding it right now?
And I have mine too. It's around somewhere.
Just it was here that I wanted to pull it out. So yeah, I'm the intern 2013.
Hi everyone, I'm Hengtao Tang from Pennsylvania State University. I'm the ISEM intern for 2015.
All right, thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. Again, my name is Megan Murtaugh, and I am the current intern coordinator. I'm going to go ahead and give you a brief overview of the program, and then we're going to go ahead and jump in with some questions for our intern guests. If you have any questions that you would like to ask of the interns, you can go ahead and put them in the chat box, and we'll go ahead and ask those as well. Otherwise, we do have some standard questions that we've been asking in each one of our webinars. So we can definitely make sure that we get everything answered, any questions that you might have. All right. The AECT Leadership Development Internships, there are 3 of them that are going to be offered this year. We have the Carl F. Strobin, the Lee W. Cochran, and the Jenny Johnson International Internship. The first 2 internship awards are managed through the Leadership Development Committee and also overseen by myself, the internship coordinator. And the last one that's listed there, the Jenny Johnson International Internship, that one is managed by the International Division. And I believe, Justine, you're one of the coordinators on that this year, correct?
I am not actually. I stepped down because I have been the coordinator for 2 years, and this year will be the past president.
Okay, great. All right. So if you have any questions that aren't answered in this webinar today, you can always send those questions to us. And if you go ahead and visit the aect.org/intern program website, contact information for both or all 3 of these internships are listed on there. So you can send an email and ask your specific question if it's not answered today, or if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable asking in the session. All right, let me go on to the next one. Some highlights about the internship program. All of our interns are featured at the International Convention each year. This year, in 2018, we'll be visiting Kansas City, Missouri. And another opportunity for our interns is to interact with leaders from the field of instructional design and technology at AECT, and also get a behind-the-scenes look of how things operate in the association. We also work on developing your leadership skills through mentoring program. You get matched with a mentor that has interests that you're interested in developing over the year that you're the intern for AECT. And we work on setting a goal and having the mentor work with you on that goal over the course of the year. In order to be eligible for the internship program, you need to either be a graduate student or a new professional who's been in the field for 3 years or less. Some of the criteria that's looked at in your application is service to a variety of organizations, and also your commitment to AECT, how you've been involved with AECT so far, and what your future plans are for involvement. We are looking for individuals who do have emerging leadership already in their experience, so people who have been leaders in other organizations as well as within AECT. And that doesn't always mean that you hold a leadership position within the organization. It might be that you take the lead on a project. And so there's a variety of ways that you can demonstrate your leadership. We're also looking for people who exhibit professionalism and also have goals and interests that align with our leadership development intern program as well as the organization. In order to submit an application, all materials must be submitted online, and you will be able to find the links for those applications on the AECT intern page. The Strobing and Cochrane internship applications will be open on Monday, April 2nd. That's coming up just after this weekend, and the link will be live on Monday morning. There are 3 components to having a completed application. You will need to answer the candidate statements that are part of the questionnaire form that is linked, and then you will need to upload a CV or resume, as well as list a sponsor. You'll have to have a sponsor name and email address, and I believe a phone number as well for your sponsor when you fill out the online application form. And then we automatically generate email to the sponsor requesting a letter on your behalf to support your application packet. All of these different items need to be submitted by June 4th of this year by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Application, once you fill it out, you'll get an automated email telling you that your application was received, and also gives you a copy of all the information that you entered into the application. We'll get you a little more information about sponsors. A sponsor needs to be a current AECT member. Your sponsor can only support one applicant. So if your sponsor has agreed to be your write your letter of recommendation, please make sure that they're aware of that they are only allowed to sponsor one person. So that has been a concern that we've had in the past. We've had individuals who submit the same name for their sponsor, and if they've applied early enough, I'm able to contact them, the duplicate ones, and ask them to identify a different sponsor. But if you wait too late to submit your application, you wait closer to June 4th, it might be difficult to find an additional sponsor. So make sure when you're asking someone to be your sponsor, that they understand that they may only sponsor you and not someone else. You also want to make sure that you're asking someone to sponsor you that is not someone who is knowledgeable about you and what your capabilities are and abilities are, and what of your accomplishments have been so far in AECT or outside of AECT. So those are some key tips to keep in mind when you're putting together your application and identifying a sponsor to support you. And I keep saying support, we did have a question one other time about whether or not the sponsor actually pays for you for your internship, and that is not the case. The sponsor is more of a reference or a recommendation. They don't actually have any financial responsibility for you at all for the intern program. The intern program is funded, or the Strobin and the Cochrane internships are funded by the AECT Foundation and also by AECT. So you don't receive any funding from the person who actually writes the recommendation letter for you. Here are dates for this year. The online application timeline, like I said, opens this coming Monday, April 2nd, and will close on June 4th, 2018. Then we'll go through a selection period where we have a committee of members that go through the applications that have been submitted and determine who would be awarded the different internships that we have available this year. And the selection will be announced around July 26th when we're at the summer leadership meeting in Kansas City. The conference this year, again, as I mentioned earlier, is in Kansas City, Missouri. If you are selected as an intern this year, you will be expected to attend the conference, and you will be expected to arrive on Sunday, October 21st by 3 p.m., and then you will be expected to stay through until Saturday, October 27th at noon. Those are the expectations for all interns that are selected. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that slide up, and I can see that there are a lot of messages in the chat, but it looks like most are hellos. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started with the first question, and we can go in order of however you guys want to jump in and answer. So we'll start off. The first question is, how did you begin your leadership quest in AECT? And anyone who's interested in, any one of our past interns who's interested in answering, go ahead and jump in.
I'll go ahead and jump in. The decision was really made for me by my former chair, Tanya Doucet. I think most of you in here know who she is. And one of the first things that she talked about when I met with her the very first time was an expectation from the program that I would join AECT, but an expectation from her that I would join the GSA and get involved right away with the GSA. I think I surprised her a little bit when I initially made some connections with the GSA, but I ran for president of GSA before I ran for any other role within the organization. And she was really pleased with that, but I felt like Jason Angerman would have been a great mentor. He was the current president, and it turned out I made that decision well because he was a great leader for the program as I was president-elect, and really guided me through all the intricacies of working with the other divisions and within the organization as a whole.
I'm Sylvia. I came in a little bit late. I was a Strobin intern for 2013, and I have to ditto what John said. My dissertation advisor is also very active in AECT, and she basically said the same thing. You know, you really need to get involved in this organization. And although she didn't expect that I would run for anything or do anything, she wanted me to be very active.
I can jump in. I think I moved to United States in 2009, and it was my first attended conference. I think it was in Louisville, if I am not mistaken. So at that time, my Georgia State friend, they told that they are going to AECT. All I was thinking is a road trip because they were driving car from Atlanta to Louisville. I said I can come and I can join on the road, and it might be fun. So this is the time that I probably changed everything about AECT in my mind. After the conference, I thought that I can do something more and involve a lot. That's why, as you know, that I became a president of GSA, and as you know, this is like 3-year assignment almost, and you're getting the elected president and past president time. And I think it started that way. And as you know, that many times we mentioned during our speeches, it's like professional home. Just when you are getting once in it, you don't want to go out. This is the thing. So I think it started me that way. And basically, I think I motivated myself a lot to be in the AECT.
Thanks, Firat.
I can jump in. This is my second webinar, so I just kind of repeat my my statement about the last webinar. So I joined the AECT in 2012. That's also my first AECT. That was in Louisville, and at that time I was not so familiar with AECT. But the next year when we went to Anaheim, California, and I talked with several of my friends, like Tutalini, like Tanya, like Megan. So they recommended me to join the AECT GSA, and that started with my my involvement in the AECT leadership role. I ran the election for the international division board member representative at the GSA, and I also served at that role for 3 consecutive years. Yeah, that's kind of my brief journey to serving the AECT GSA. In 2015, I was selected for the SM intern by AECT. Thank you.
I also started in GSA, so I don't know, Megan, if you want us to all go through, but I'll just jump in. I started my graduate program at Old Dominion, and we were encouraged to join AECT as well. So as I went to Anaheim, I met a few people. Yvonne Earnshaw was looking for someone to work with her on the GSA newsletter. And so I was maybe in a different position where I didn't come into an elected role, I came into a project. And so if you can network with people and find holes, find places where there's opportunities to use your strengths to give back to the organization, I think that was a really valuable way for me to get involved in a low stakes way that allowed me to get a better understanding of how the organization worked before I moved into a position. So I spent a year doing that before becoming the D&D GSA rep and then a D&D board associate.
All right. Justine, did you go? I can't remember.
No, I haven't. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's a little bit different because I'm the first, Megan and I, we are kind of like the first year when we shift the focus from kind of research oriented to leadership oriented. So I think before 2014, I mean, it's just like by seeing a lot of people applying for intern, but that never really struck me about like, I feel like I'm qualified to be an intern. But then, I mean, 2014, when the application invite was out, and it was just like my friend also including Tanya, which is also who encouraged Jon, and like everybody was saying, you're already involved in international divisions so much since 2009, why don't you try? And so I just give it a try, and yeah, so I feel like really blessed to get selected. Yeah.
Thanks. All right, we're going to go on to the next question, and it's kind of similar, But if you think of anything else that you might want to add, the question is, do you have any tips for those who desire to be AECT leaders? So if you have any tips about how people can get involved, or what they should do in order to start sharpening those leadership skills in the organization, go ahead and jump in and share any tips you might have.
I'll jump in real quick. I think it's important to keep in mind that it doesn't have to be this giant project, it can be a lot of smaller things, because it can lead to bigger things.
And I can share a little bit, because I feel like as maybe because of personality, I feel like really a little bit hesitant to be involved in the division or a lot of things. I feel like I'm not qualified, or I'm not capable of doing things. But then especially I remember in 2009 when I joined international division and I started serving there, I was still kind of very hesitant, because the whole board of international division was all male seniors. And I was the young graduate student, especially as a female. I was at that time, I do feel a little bit uncomfortable being there. But yeah, but it was kind of interesting, because all divisions, I believe they are all open their arms for everybody, to welcome everyone to be involved. And I have already heard several divisions, they are having different kind of positions for graduate students right now, especially for our division, international one. We actually have welcome people to join us and then shadow the board member. So you will become more involved in all the events or activities we host. So, okay, Hengtao, no, they're not crying, because at that time I was really hesitant. Yeah, as the only female graduate student. So yeah, but anyway, so I think every division is very, very welcoming all graduate students to join them. So I will say don't hesitate, because you are in this field, even though you are maybe first year graduate student, you feel you don't know a lot, but then you should still give it a try and start asking, be very active, saying, what can I help, or what can I do to help with this division?
Does anybody else have tips they'd like to share about how you could get involved?
I'll jump in. I know that almost every division looks for volunteers for, like what Sylvia said, really anything. So whether it's overviewing data on a project, I know one of our attendees, Begum, helped us with a History Corner project, and that's a great way to start getting your name out there. Certainly within the GSA, there's a lot of different leadership opportunities, and sometimes it's a struggle every fall to be able to find people to run for some of those open positions. So that's certainly one way of showing your leadership capability, and just really raise your hand, put your name out there, get yourself involved in something.
Yeah, I also agree that before starting with the leadership journey, that is good to get involved in the AECT different divisions. Like I know besides the GSA, I know GSA has a lot of the initiatives for our graduate students to get involved. But also for other divisions, like our international division also have a lot of the initiatives that graduate students will be able to join. Especially for the international graduate students, they are also welcome to join us and like to get involved in the preparing for the conference items. And also we have a lot of activities inside when we have the conference. So every people are welcome to join us. Is that correct, Justine?
Thanks.
Jessica put the same thing in the chat. She said her experience was similar. Just look for volunteer opportunities and way to offer support and networking. It's about a willingness to network. Oh, we do have a question, and how do you say, is it Besta?
My name is Beheshte. Hello again,
Behesh?
everyone. Beheshte. Beheshte, 3 syllables.
Beheshte.
But you can call me Behi because I know that is difficult to pronounce.
No, I'd rather learn the right way. Thank
Actually,
you.
the meaning is very good. The meaning of my name is paradise. So
very nice.
Yes,
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, so Beheshta asked if we have any general tips in preparing the internship application. Does anyone want to go ahead and share any tips you have about how you put your application together?
I think what was most helpful to me, so the internship application is going to ask you about future goals. It asks about what you've already accomplished, but it's also forward facing as well. And so I know that I ended up going in and pulling those questions into a Word document where I could spend some time over time reflecting on them. And I found it to be a really valuable exercise to take the opportunity to think about what was it that I wanted to do with this experience and where did I want to go with it from here. So, think about not just what you can give back to the organization for this year that you would be an intern, but then where do you see yourself going within the organization? So I think that that's certainly helpful. Also, really trying to detail the projects that you're working on, any leadership roles that you have, so it's not just a list. Trying to come up with more of a narrative to really highlight what it is that you've done.
Yeah, I think that's a. See, am I muted? I don't think so. I think one of the things that actually my advisor told me was, be very specific. Don't, a lot of times when people, especially for future goals, they'll say, I want to become a leader, but you want to say specifically what you're interested in, because that does demonstrate the reflection and the thought that Jessica was putting in. So anything that's like a bit of a vague goal comes off in an ambiguous way. And so you want to try to be as specific as possible.
And now jumping, so one tip I think that is very important is to find your sponsor and the one who's going to write the recommendation letter for you, because a lot of people think because it's the AECT intern, so I need to find someone really very active, or someone is a big name in our field. So then that might be at several points to the application. But I think based on my personal experience and also several conversations with other interns, we all kind of agree that it's actually not what you think that way. It's actually more if you can find a sponsor who really knows you well. So for example, your advisor really know you're taking leadership role in different kind of organization, from even on your own home campus or in other association. So all this kind of details that your sponsor can help provide in their letter, that will help, because I think that is just second your own statement about your leadership ability. So I think finding someone who truly knows you is a good thing for you to consider.
I agree with everything that has been said. The only thing I would add is to make a tally of what other types of volunteering and leadership activities you've had, even maybe in later years of high school, whether it's National Honor Society or student government. If you volunteer in your community, especially in a leadership role and some type of volunteer activity, those are all great things to include to show that you have a range of experience outside of the discipline.
So I have a question about this internship program. Is it more about AECT leadership or field, all over the field? So is it more focused on AECT or?
It's a combination of both. The selection committee will look at your entire packet, and so they'll look to see if you've started to get involved in AECT and how you've become involved in the organization, but they'll also look to see if you have leadership outside of the organization as well. It could be in one of your student organizations at your university, you know, something like that. They'll look at that as well. So they look at everything. It's not just one thing that they look at. It's a combination of things. And also how you explain your interests. You know, what are you looking to do? What are your goals for the future? You know, they really want to see that you have specific, you know, goals in mind and a plan of how you might achieve that as well.
Okay.
One of the things I can mention too is several of us have applied to be an intern more than one time. So even if you don't think you're qualified this year, go ahead and apply and put time in and put the application together. If you don't get selected, you can always apply again next year or in a couple more years after you have more experience to add to your application. But it'll give you an idea of what the process is like and what is looked at. Another thing that I always offer, and that Tanya has offered in the past as well when she was the intern coordinator, is feedback. If you put in an application and you're not selected, if you would like feedback on your application on what you could do to improve it for the next year, we're happy to do that. So you just, you know, once, you know, the selection has been made, if you're not selected, just send me an email and I'll be happy to look at your individual application and give you specific guidance on how to improve it for the following year. Oh, and just what Justine just pointed out too, the selection committee is different every year. So there are 3 new people every year that work as the selection committee for the interns. And not only that, you're also going to have a different pool of applicants each year. So the people that you're being kind of compared against each year changes. And so this year, if you were to apply, and let's say you have just entry-level experience and you're going up against applicants who have been involved in the organization for like 3 or 4 years, then your application might not rise to the top. But then next year, after you've put in more, you know, time in the organization and done more projects or helped out in other ways, your application might be the one that rises to the top compared to the applicants during that time year. So every year it changes, and so it's hard to say, you know, what specifically will get you selected each year, because we do have a different pool of applicants, and we also have a different selection committee as well. But there is a rubric that's used, and that's on the intern webpage. So if you go on the intern webpage, everything's there. I even provided the application questions, so that if you wanted to draft your responses ahead of time, you can do that. So they're all on the webpage, the questions that you'll be asked, as well as the rubric that's used to evaluate your entire application packet.
Yeah, Megan, you just remind me, another tip is to take advantage of the previous interns, because we are willing to help everybody. So like if you have question, or you just say, can you help me review my application and give some feedback? I believe we are all willing to help you in that way. Or like you want to see an example, because I heard like people before me, they actually say some of them, they didn't get it the first time. They actually asked the previous intern to share their application packet with them. And then the second time they get it. So I think like take advantage of us is another tip.
Yes, definitely. I cannot offer my services this year because I'm the intern coordinator, so it can be a little off to do that. But any of the other interns or past interns, definitely I would say contact them and see if they would be willing to review your application responses and give you some tips on how you can strengthen your application before you submit it. So definitely start early. You have a couple of months to be able to put your application together. I would say contact one of the interns early and find out if they would be willing to review it, and then schedule with them accordingly and make sure that you fit into their schedules as well. A time period that they could review your application responses. Any other questions that you ladies could think of for now? All right, if you come up with another question, just let us know. We're going to go ahead and move on to another question that we have, and that is Convention Week truly as busy as they say it is?
Yes.
I was wondering if anybody was going to jump in on that one.
It's pretty busy.
Yes, and definitely because in addition to your intern responsibility, and you can meet a lot of people, because I won't say it's like your responsibility, but also intern give you a lot of privilege to go to like different division. I'm not sure this is still the same. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, because I remember when I was an intern, they told us that we can join any division's membership meeting or board member meeting to know more about the division. So I think by having that kind of privilege, your schedule will be really busy, because at that time I was interested in other divisions as well, in addition to the international one. So I joined several divisions board member meeting to learn more about them. So definitely crazy schedule.
One of the things I do try to do is keep a balance so that you don't have something scheduled every single minute of the day, and that you do have some opportunity to either hang out with the other interns or network with other people that you meet at the convention. And I try to get you your schedule a couple of weeks in advance so that you're able to have an idea of when you're kind of on the on the hot seat, so to speak, and then when you'll have some downtime. All right, question about, would you mind just summarizing the most responsibilities of the interns? Well, okay, so at convention, it's basically each year it kind of changes a little bit depending on what the leadership wants of the interns. Starting last year, we had the interns arrive early, which is what we'll be doing again this year. And so you'll have the opportunity to see a truly behind the scenes look at what it looks like at convention before anyone arrives. And we have you assist the conference coordinator and the volunteer coordinator in setting up part of the conference. And so you really do get to see how the conference takes shape before participants even arrive. You also have the opportunity to meet with AECT leadership. I try to do get a variety of people to come and have breakfast each morning with the interns. And you have opportunity to ask them questions about their leadership experience within the organization. Yes, our day starts at 7 a.m. Breakfast starts at 7 a.m. each day, except the first day I think I had breakfast around 8 or 8:30, and then the last day on Saturday I think I tried to move it back to like 7:30 if I was able to, because I can tell you I'm definitely not a morning person. So if I'm able to push back breakfast a little bit for you, I'll try to do that. But yeah, 7 o'clock most days is when we get started. But you do get to meet a lot of people. And then, so besides helping set up and meeting with different leaders, you also help with all of the main sessions, any of the keynote sessions. You're available to help with setting up that session or with helping with running the session. So there's quite a variety of things that you're able to do. And then last year and previous years, we have you help with running the roundtable and poster sessions. So you help with the organization and setup of those, as well as the flow once the roundtable and poster sessions start as well. Anyone think of anything else I'm missing? You do get invited to some special functions like the leadership luncheon and also the international social that happens usually like the second or third night that we're at convention. And Justine, yes, the interns also go and help out with the first-timer sessions. So there's a session that's held every year at convention if you've never been to a convention before called the first-timer session, and interns go and help out with that. There's usually a game that's played and they give out prizes and stuff like that. Lots of fun. We also help out with setting up and handing out the awards at the closing session and finding the awardees and having them sit up front in the audience for those events as well. No, Firat, we haven't mentioned that yet. You want to mention that?
I think I can, because as I said, I'm not the guy who wears suits a lot because I'm a short one, and when I wear suits, it looks like they make me shorter than normal. That's why I don't really like to wear suits. But yeah, and wearing suits, and additionally, you're wearing this medallion during the conference is one of your responsibility. And another thing is when you wear this medallion, probably is there any word that I can use instead of medallion? Because it's really difficult to say right now. And, it's like after 12 o'clock here, probably it will be more difficult to say. But when you are wearing this, all AECT members will congratulate you. And that's why I wrote you there, it's the time to show yourself how committee selected you. And also it should be proved that the committee gave a very good decision and by choosing you. So that's why all the AECT members will come and say, oh, congratulations, you're the new intern for this year. Is one of the big responsibility too, because you will say, yes, I will do my best during the conference and after the conference and rest of your life, being a leader in our field. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
Yes, a very good point. When you're wearing the medal around your neck, it highlights that you're one of the interns that have been chosen that year. And it's also kind of like your backstage pass. So if there are any meetings that are going on that you're interested in sitting in on, you can walk into any one of those meetings just because you have that intern medal around your neck. And Justine brought up that be prepared that some people will come up to you and approach you and want to connect with you and ask you questions about applying for the internship program, or ask you questions about, what is this internship program all about? So you're kind of like a spokesperson for the leadership program and the organization when you're at the convention.
They'll also ask you to apply for jobs.
Yes.
Let you know if they have openings on the way. So every connection is a potential interview opportunity.
Absolutely. You're kind of interviewing for jobs and you don't even know it. So you always have to, and that's why we do mention professionalism as one of the criteria that we look for, because when you're being highlighted like that at the international convention, all eyes are going to be on you, and you do have to be very professional in your interactions, and make that first impression, especially if you haven't met a lot of people before at the conventions. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, and you never know what might happen because of who you spoke to at the convention. Let me see if we have, I think we have about 10 more minutes or less. Let's see, I have one more question. What would you say is the most challenging part of the internship?
I guess for me, and I know I can speak a little bit for Jess as well, it's after the conference, saying you're trying to work on your project, you're trying to keep everyone involved, and everyone's kind of gone back to their own lives and their own responsibilities. So really getting that time and effort together to work on your intern project has certainly been, from my perspective, the greatest challenge. And no, I wasn't blaming you at all, Jess.
You can, and it is hard. That is a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a challenge for our year too.
I know it was definitely a challenge for our year.
Firat's nodding his head. Remember Firat?
And I want to say something about leadership thing, because I think it's like a contagious, because when you're getting like involved in this organization, you want to be leader in everywhere. I don't know why it happens, but because they are giving you privilege that you can be the leader. So what happened that after that is I took this internship like almost 5 years ago. Well, not almost, it's 5 years ago. And when I'm in Turkey and I back to my country, I became a vice dean. So when you're getting like involved something and your people might see that you are doing something. So many of my friends here know that I was in the United States last week to get another award to show successful for the alumni under 40. But I'm making joke about, because I left 2 years to be 40, so probably they gave me this award because I just left 2 years. So, but the other thing is, when you're getting involved, that is going to be more than you expected. Because when I was flying from the Turkey, and I just learned that they assigned me another job, and I became vice principal of distance learning center. So it comes and grows inside when you start something to be part of AECT, because AECT show you that how you became a leader during that. At least it showed me that way. So probably, hopefully, it showed all of us that way too. And I want to share this with you guys.
Thanks, Firat. Does anyone else have anything else to add about maybe a challenging part of the internship?
I won't say it's a challenge, but I remember after the convention, I was invited to write a short reflection about my experiences. I feel like after a busy week, it's just hard for me to kind of come up with a good summary. So kind of like, I was hoping like every day I keep a note, like what I did or something that I feel like I can reflect on.
So your suggestion would be for future interns to kind of like maybe at the end of each day write down a couple of things that they take away from the experience that day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did the same for thank you notes. At the end of the day, I would sit down and figure out who I needed to thank from that day, and I kept just a running list. So that's a really nice idea to add the reflection in. And I know I was lucky that the timing worked out that I didn't have class. I had finished my coursework by the time I was an intern, but I know that I had fellow interns who were still doing coursework, and I know that was a challenge. So if you end up in a situation where you've got a lot of competing priorities, it's definitely helpful to plan ahead and know that you're really not going to accomplish much for other obligations during that week. Your time is really going to be dedicated to AECT. So if you have other projects or other papers that you need to get done beforehand, it's definitely helpful to shift things however you can to really make the conference the priority.
All right, one last question for us before we sign off for today. What is one thing you would tell anyone who wants to apply to be an intern?
I would say to be prepared to network and know who you are when you fill out that application, so that you know who you are when you get awarded the internship and go to conference. It's really all about being yourself, networking, and getting through that schedule with a smile on your face.
I will say picture like a future yourself. Like imagine how you will be in the next 5 years and what kind of leader you want to be, and then show why you're capable to do everything like that. Yeah.
Any other tips for those who might be interested in applying for an internship?
I would say get prepared for the application earlier. For those who might be interested in application for this year, I think you should have started on to prepare your application. And also do not invest too much emotions in this application. I mean, if you failed in first year, just like what we said before, get more feedback and get more prepared for next year's application.
Great. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Wanted to remind you again that the online application for the internship program opens on Monday and will be open through June 4th, 2018. Our selection will be announced around July 26th of this year, and the conference will be in Kansas City, Missouri from October 21st to the 27th. Those are the dates that our selected interns will be expected to be in attendance. So I would like to thank all our guests for attending today and for our past interns for sharing their experiences with us. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me through the AECT intern page. There's an email linked there that you can send questions to, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that you might have.